Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lads Discuss RWBY. I know it took me 3 years to finally get around to this idea, but hey, it's finally happened, and we're probably nearing the end of the RWBY story arc, but we'll have to wait and see what gets announced. Joining me is your only mate.
Hi.
Okay, then, and joined with me is Sean.
Where the fuck am I? I thought this was Let's Discuss Death Battle. Now it's Let's Discuss RWBY? I dig it.
Yeah, this is actually something I've wanted to do for a while, but one, when I tried to do this in the first place, Joe and Richard weren't big fans of RWBY, so it just didn't make any sense to do it with them. Mate was already doing Robust Cast version.
And Max and Mate.
I've been trying to also contact, or at least I tried to contact other RWBY YouTubers, but any of them were already doing their own podcast, so I just thought, I don't think Billy talks about RWBY was going to be unless it's just a solo thing. But, hey, we managed to actually decide, hey, we want to do more lads content, so why not do it here?
Yay!
Right then, so we're discussing RWBY Volume 9, and to answer the big question, was this worth the 2 years wait? And to that, I say, yeah, this was a really good season.
I would honestly argue it's one of, if not the best volumes of the show, and I'll be honest, my personal favorite.
I will always say that everything is worth it in the end, especially with patience, and RWBY fans had as much patience as us Bleach fans did, and you got rewarded heavily.
Yeah, although to be fair, we also got stuff in between, like we got Blake vs. Mikasa, we got RWBY Ice Queendom, we got RWBY Arrowfell, so like, we had stuff to hold us over.
Bro, only thing we got, I feel like, was Madara vs. Aizen, but that's it.
Oof.
Aww. I mean, you got another Bleach season come out on Disney Plus, which I never thought I'd ever say those words.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We were waiting for that for like over a decade, and then it's just like, now we're waiting for part 2 of it, for them to finish it up. So it'll be fine.
However, though, this season did come with some controversies. Controversies. I can never say that word perfect on my first try for some reason. That's always going to be like the curse.
That's like me with the title of episode 6.
Oh, this episode did get some backlash on the first 3 episodes of this season, mainly due to the fact people were a bit annoyed that the whole story was going to be set in this world. And on one hand, I understand their annoyance with that, because after how good, like people say season 8 was really bad, I don't see that. I thought that was really good, especially its ending, which made the 2 years waiting really hurts. It's like, no, I need to know what happens next. Are RWBY okay? What's Cinder gonna do? What's gonna happen? And you get told, in the 2 years you waited, the whole season's gonna be set in this world. That is a bit annoying. I would have forgiven it as long as the season was good. And it was, so I do appreciate that. But I'm not ignorant, I understand the annoyance from people's side having to wait 2 years. We don't even find out what happened with all the other characters. We don't know what's going on with Salem.
I mean,
I know,
we're going
I understand
to.
frustration. Yeah, but to wait 2 years, well, I guess now we're waiting 3 years. Because...
Wait, really?
The whole season. Well, yeah, assuming when the next season is, they decide to do another 2 year gap, which granted, the only reason they had that long gap was because of COVID, so I don't think we're going to have that again. But if we do have to wait another year for the next season, I can understand the annoyance from some fans having to wait 3 years for the continuation of the main story. It's kind of like with Skyrim's story, like, if, you know, doing loads of side quests, but then it's like, can we get back to trying to defeat Alduin, please?
I was more so thinking with controversy, you were going to talk about how a lot of people were kind of upset that it was going straight to Crunchyroll.
That was another controversy, but in some way, though, it going on Crunchyroll was actually kind of a smart move because there were more people subscribed to that. So, yeah, that was actually kind of a smart move. In fact, I think RWBY saw 3 times more viewership than they had on Rooster Teeth's site. So,
yeah, honestly,
whoever was the person that decided that idea, you deserve a raise.
See, Crunchyroll.
I'm just glad it's not HBO Max.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Unless you're Peacemaker, you're not getting many views on that.
Yeah, Crunchyroll. You see, the way I've always interpreted it, Crunchyroll lost Bleach, so they're like, we'll pick up RWBY, it's the next best thing.
It makes sense, really. Plus, with Queendom being a huge success on Crunchyroll as well, it just made sense that RWBY would go on Crunchyroll. I get the annoyance as well, because if you've been supporting Rooster Teeth's first membership, because at this point, don't really see the point owning Rooster Teeth first membership aside Death Battle, really. Because the other stuff just doesn't feel worth it, especially if RWBY's not going to be on there anymore.
I mean, if you still enjoy their other content, then
Well, I also
yeah,
feel
you can still have it.
I feel like they might do behind the scenes stuff on the RT site too.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah. So like there are reasons to have the RT first membership, but in general, I think the move to Crunchyroll was definitely like the biggest thing that RWBY could do at where it was. Not to mention, like I've seen people were saying thank you to Crunchyroll on Twitter, such as the Kaito Dan. He was very grateful that Crunchyroll took RWBY on, and he would love for them to say, "Hey, can we have season 10 on here too?"
I think realistically, it would
A
make
big request. A big request I do have is just fix the subtitle issue, please. Like, why don't they work?
Crunchyroll, you've had so many years, man. There's no excuse.
Maybe their excuse is that they're working on too many animes with subtitles. Who knows?
Be honest, that is actually understandable. Okay, but now the other controversy from this is specifically from a lot of hardcore RWBY fans that this season was filler. Now,
It's
I will
not.
go into more details. There is, I can understand again, sort of similar to that whole controversy with like the story not picking off from the main one. I kind of agree, but I also disagree.
I mean,
We do get a big reveal, but you know we'll save that for the end of this episode because if people who've been following my channel see my little quick reviews, but no, I really liked the finale. Let's get on with the main story of what was it called again? The Ever After.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
yo,
so-
if this was filler, where's the fucking beach episode? 0 out of 10. Worst filler arc ever.
Yeah, man, just missed opportunity, man. I want a Dead or Alive style beach party video game with RWBY characters.
You know what? There's a goal for Volume 10, beach episode.
Yes.
I never thought RWBY would get more beaches than I would, but
Damn it, Billy.
I think there was actually a panel not long ago when the voice actors were asked, like, if you could have any episode made, what would it be? Bob said, beach episode.
a staple in like anime. Even Pokemon had it before it got banned from America because
Pokemon
James
has had
had
tons of beach episodes.
Yeah.
but the very first one had controversy because James gave himself boobs, which he enlarged it on screen.
And
Won't lie.
tells Misty that hers are too small.
Yeah, won't lie, never thought I'd be attracted to James, but here we are. But, so let's talk about the Ever After, because big surprise for a lot of people, the heavy influence for this world was from Alice in Wonderland, and this might come as a shock to people. I love the Alice in Wonderland books. So to see a whole RWBY story based around that, I'm hyped. If this season's filler, I don't give a shit. I love the Alice in Wonderland books. So many creative characters, it's so absurd and everything like that. But I can't lie, characters inspired by the Alice in Wonderland characters, not great. There are some exceptions, which we'll get to later. So, the main thing about this story was that the world didn't make sense. It was essentially just a dream world where things make sense, but they don't make sense. Similar to the books. And RWBY, of course, I liked how they did this so quickly. I was really worried this was going to be multiple episodes. No, Team RWBY meet up immediately. I was really happy that was just one episode.
Yeah, I will admit, I would have liked to see the scene of Blake and Weiss finding each other. But it's not a big deal.
Right.
I like that we got to Team RWBY. We got introduced to the Jabberwocker, which, Wait, get ready to be disappointed, people, if you haven't watched the season. But we also got introduced to Little.
Sounds like Bill has a little problem with little.
Oh,
But I'm bounced.
Ironic. I have big issues with Little, and it only got worse as Little stayed with the team.
Dude, Little was adorable.
oh, adorable. Guess what? Jar Jar Binks was considered adorable. Doesn't mean I had to fucking like him. All I was waiting for was Little to step in shit and go, Be Musa! That's all I was waiting for. I'll go into more details about Little because each episode, Little was so pointless, especially the heartwarming reunion. Just fuck off.
So
I'm gonna Photoshop me flicking that little piece of shit.
I feel like this season definitely felt
Intended.
very centric on Ruby Rose herself, but I did like the idea of there being side arcs as we go along.
Yeah, Ruby, I was really loving the story of Ruby in this season, because one of the things that I was kind of wondering, after all the trauma Ruby survived, one of my questions after the season, is she going to be the same optimistic, lovable character? I know it's kind of split with the fandom about Ruby as a main character, but I'll be honest, I love Ruby. Why? Because she's an optimistic, innocent child. And yeah, to some people, that's annoying. Superman's an optimistic child. Man-child to some people, but that's why I like Superman. I like Ruby because she's so optimistic and so adorable. And then this season, she was so close to breaking in a lot of this season, but I mean, obviously...
Imposter syndrome is a bitch.
I wouldn't say it was imposter syndrome. It was mostly the burden of like being a leader and just believing that he was a fuck up. If people this season really dives into mental health illnesses, and to be honest, mental health writing is a slippery slope. There's obviously someone like me who's writing a book at the moment. I don't suffer from mental health issues, so I don't think I'm qualified to write these sort of stories, because mental health is tricky. You either write it and it just comes off as insulting, or you write it and it's just a really touchy subject. But given the people behind the show, I don't remember who, I don't want to say it just in case I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure one of the main writers of RWBY does suffer mental health, which more power to them that they've managed to stick through this show despite some of the heat it's gotten for some of its controversy. But man, like RWBY's arc, man, like I knew nothing bad was going to happen to her. They're not going to kill her off before the final battle.
Well, they're not going to kill off any of the main four.
They're not going to. But the fact this show still made me go like, oh, please, RWBY, be okay. Like, the fact there was so many moments, I was like, come on, RWBY, put on a smile, please, your team needs you. But that showed that this season did it really well. Me thinking, RWBY is just really in a bad place. As for Weiss, she was the comedic relief, but to be honest, it might sound harsh, I think her story arc is over. Now, she's just meant to be the comedic relief, which, funny enough, I always thought Yang was going to take that role. I always pictured her as the Drax of the team. She's the strong brute, but also just the comedic relief. Weiss has somewhat taken that role, not the dumb, but the strong one, but she's more the comedic relief, but I feel like every scene she's in, she was funny.
Yeah, like,
it wasn't distracting.
Behind the scenes, we were talking about this, like, Weiss's writing definitely has improved a lot, especially with what's going on.
It's crazy for me, because when RWBY first came out, I saw the red, white, and black train, I thought, they're alright. Then I saw the Yang train, I was like, that's my girl, that's the one I'm always gonna love. After season 4, though, it kind of shifted to more Weiss. Saying Yang's a bad character, just not many moments I really am, yay, Yang's on screen, you know. Now, whenever, it's more like so for Weiss, because she's a cool character, plus Queendom really elevated her character for me, especially. So, I really do like Weiss. So she didn't have an arc this season, really. She was more so to bring the ha-has. At least they were funny ha-has. I've just heard cheering for Blake trying to get her weapon, man. Like, come on, man, look at that. That's adorable.
I have a funny little story about that moment. When I made my Crunchyroll account, Max unfortunately didn't have the funds to like make one of his own, so I was like, "Here, you can have the login details for mine. I trust you enough." Just quick PSA: don't do that with just anybody. Do it with just be careful with your login details, people.
Freaking security. Hello, people. We're sponsored by NordVPN. You're only mate here to explain to you about internet safety.
Yeah, so that way we can just both watch the volume and whatever. Now, these episodes came out on Saturdays when I was at work, so Max would pull it up like relatively soon after they'd come out, watch them, then I'd come home and watch them myself.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
The first episode, when I loaded it up, it started midway through. at the part when Weiss was cheering for Blake.
Secretly,
I would have
been like, God damn it, Max.
No, I found this funny because the reason being, after he watched the episode, he just like went back to that scene to rewatch it a few times. And in his defense, if it were the other way around, honestly, same thing would have happened. But with a different scene.
I have a feeling Max also probably has a gif of that scene
that
on standby.
I think there's a green screen of him. I wonder I need to download it just so I can make all sorts of stupid RWBY memes.
I've edited cheerleader pom-poms for her hands.
I love it.
Hang on, I have it somewhere. I'll put it in our chat.
RWBY cheerleaders. That is something I did not think we would need.
I mean, I would love to see that, and there's plenty of fan art of it.
I mean, if we can get My Hero cheerleaders, why not, right?
RWBY meme we need, but not the one we deserve.
I definitely think Weiss became the most memeable this volume.
Yeah, the amount of shitpost videos I saw on YouTube after old watching episode, yeah, it was just all Weiss. One of my favorite ones has to be RWBY Volume 9. It's just nice. I'll put that on screen just so they know why we're laughing. But
I made sure to pick appropriate colors.
One of the funniest things I saw that came out after the first 3 episodes was RWBY Volume 9, but the context is Weiss losing her shit. I can't remember the name of the YouTuber, but that video, Weiss is just so fed up with this world, and if I was in her shoes, I would be the same. I just want to go home, but we have to follow a stupid fucking mouse, and 2, nothing makes sense. You go walking behind a tree, suddenly you're by the beach. Trust me, things get much weirder as more episodes came out, people.
Yeah, but questions got answered, like, eventually.
Got answered. They didn't make sense, though. In fact, they raised more questions.
You know, I still want there to be just a meme of, like, I don't know who from the Ever Afters would work for the most, but that Flash meme, I want it to be remade, and it's the Ever After. I ain't gotta explain shit.
Well, no, they do need to, but at the same time, I think but at the same time, because this is based on Alice in Wonderland, I think the whole fact it keeps making you ask questions is what shows that it's doing brilliant, because Alice in Wonderland also explained shit, but just raised more questions about it.
Well,
so that's what I kind of like about the Ever After.
Well, it was also a good idea. This way the animators can just do some creative things and make some creative scenes.
Yeah.
Have a whole bunch of townspeople that are board game pieces.
Alright, before we get to more further, let's also talk about the other 2 characters. So Yang and Blake, spoilers, people, they finally had their romance story arc.
They did the smoochy smooch.
Soon they'll be doing the VV.
Damn it, Billy. Also, this is one mention of Bumblebee so far.
Also, Yang will be tasting pussy. Wait, what kind? Yes.
I see Billy is quoting the Aging Nonsuch comic, basically.
Come on, man. Do you know what's funny? Because after each episode of RWBY Volume 9, I went to check her Twitter just to see what art she drew, and each one of them just made me crack up laughing. Especially, I don't want to say yet because we're going to get to it, but let's just say it involves Neo and a cat, but that comic, I cracked up laughing. So, the story is, they need to get to the tree because they're basing a lot of the things from the Ever After on escaping just like how Alex did, but a little bit of a twist with Alex.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, we should mention, like, they're aware of the Ever After and various things about the world, because in Remnant, there is a fairy tale called The Girl Who Fell Through the World, which, you know, that's basically RWBY Alice in Wonderland. Girl ends up in the Ever After, works her way through it, eventually gets home, like, yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the setup for this story. So it's just RWBY trying to escape. Now, to many people, this is where the filler came in. Now, yes, the reason they wanted to escape was to get back home to stop Salem. So it was still an importance to escape. It's not like this was a vacation, like, oh, people are dying, let's enjoy this through. Oh shit, I'm in the future. The joke will make sense later on, people.
All we know is they went somewhere in a world they were not familiar with, and they just want to go home. Cause
well, they were familiar with it, just not.
Cause this was revealed in like the first episode, like especially RWBY wanted to find out what happened to the other people of Varo, I believe is how you pronounce it. Vacuo, as well as what happened to Penny.
Oof, yeah. Now, I feel like to talk more about the story, we have to talk about characters introduced, because this is honestly one of my only major complaints. Despite the opener of the show making it seem like all these characters were going to play some big role, honestly, two of them really played a key role in this story. The Prince, he had one episode, he was entertaining, never saw him again. It doesn't really matter. The Caterpillar, who was really intriguing, he appeared in one episode and died. And in the same episode, I was like, oh. Okay. And
well, sort of, not really.
Yeah, it's like, in the Alice in Wonderland book, he would pass down wisdom to Alice, and, you know, he was explaining the world, and there's this interesting story with him. But, okay, I guess... that was what I was really sad, because he was a really interesting character, so I just wanted to see more of him, but then he died, and just... Well, they ascended, like... To explain, people don't die in this world unless it's the Jabberwocker, which kind of contradicts... the whole, oh, you don't die here. Except for this one specific thing that can kill you. It's like, that should have been an important thing to mention. As the raccoon scam artist. Yeah, he seemed like he was gonna, he seemed like he was gonna play a role given he was in the opening, but nope, he doesn't. It was a bit weird that they introduced these characters in the intros like they were gonna play some big role, but realistically, they just pass and go, really. So the Shanks, they're really interesting characters. You can't get me interested in characters and not expand.
I'll be honest, I was never really that interested in Jinxie.
I mean, that's fair, but I think the thing Bill's trying to say is that he wished these characters were more than just, one-offs, more than just one appearance. He wished there was more, like, lore behind certain ones, especially, again, like he was saying, the Prince would have been dope to see more lore on.
They seemed like they were making him seem like he was going to be like, the puppeteer, look at my army. Don't get me wrong, the chess fight was entertaining. I was kind of hoping there was maybe going to build up, he was going to have his army, they were going to march on the trees, they wanted to escape or something like that. But no, he just wants to play chess and just always win. And that's it. It's a shame though, because he was entertaining as a character. Mate told me he was voiced by the new voice actor for Caboose, so it's like...
You would not be able to tell.
Ah, you wouldn't. That is really funny to me.
Dude, just imagine.
Do you know what's funny?
He goes like, I am the Red Prince, and I want to play chess.
The thing that was kind of funny though, he gave me a Ramon Salazar vibe from Resident Evil 4. Little tiny little midget man, throwing tantrums when the heroes are winning. The difference is he doesn't turn to a giant plant monster at the end of it, which I won't lie, I actually think that would have made this episode 10 times better. Honestly, I can live without the Prince. I was like, okay, you know what? He was just meant to be a minor antagonist, kind of like in One Punch Man. They introduced a really cool villain, they were just dead just to get obliterated. It's like, yeah, I can live with that. But the Caterpillar was so interesting. Because one of my favourite scenes, which I was really sad it was so short-lived, when he freaking gets lit, bruv. And, Yeah, the RWBY characters are meeting their counter selves, ones that are sort of like the opposite of what they are, are trying to...
past selves.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't just their past selves, it was also that side of them that wanted to give up and stuff like that, or be the complete opposite of what they want to be.
It's basically a Persona 4 scene.
Mate would know that. So, I don't want to counter arguments. Maybe that's true. I haven't played Persona.
I mean,
No, it absolutely is. It's like the cast meeting their shadow selves. Only in their case, it's like accepting and coming to terms with their shadow selves, whereas in this, it's the ghost being like, no, this is what I am.
It was a really powerful scene, but then I liked how RWBY's side, though, did actually provide somewhat of a good argument for RWBY. It's like, it's about what I kind of liked about RWBY's story arc. They don't try and act like it wasn't her fault how a lot of things got wrong, because she did make poor choices. It's the fact, how does she go about it? Does she just give up? Does she learn from her mistakes? I like that really good quote from the Lion King movie, you can always run from it or learn from it. RWBY was kind of like, don't know if I want to carry on being like the hero that I am, or if I'm just making things worse. However, that scene got quickly cut off thanks to this character, which I have gripes with, but he was interested at first, the Curious Cat.
I'll just say, Robbie Daymond is fantastic in this role.
His acting was great. The Curious Cat was an interesting addition. A character, as the name suggests, he was very curious about Remnant. In fact, I liked it when he was the more mysterious sort of person that wants to learn about this other world. Because, yeah, all he's ever known is, well, the Ever After. Because other characters in this world don't question their existence. Many of them are happy to live out their lives until eventually they ascend and become something new. The Curious Cat, though, doesn't get that sort of luxury. He's the one that has to, give them a purpose and decide, do you think it's time to pass on? And that then leads us to the Jabberwocker and Neo. Because they were pretty much the main antagonists this volume. And Jabberwocker was a cool villain. He was kind of short-lived, literally.
Yeah, because Neo shows up, gets a buff, and just kills it.
In fact, I kind of find it weird. Someone pointed this out on Twitter. I'm not sure if it's true. Mate, you've probably read more RWBY material, so you could confirm this true. Neo is the third character in the entire series that has actually on screen had a semblance buff. Is that true?
Oh, hang on. In Volume 8, there was Ren.
I don't remember there being a buff for Ren in Volume 8.
No, there was. It was when he could actually, read other people's emotions.
I remember. I know Jean and Weiss have had buffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jean's was him unlocking his. Yeah, Weiss's was finally learning to summon.
Still,
So, I guess technically, yeah, the third.
Yeah, but
that is kind of weird.
Here's what I think about
Weird.
that thing. I think it just sets up how much stronger Neo has become as a villain. Because, as you were saying, the Jabberwocker is the scariest thing in this new world. Yet we see Neo with this new ability just completely destroy it. That shows that not only is Neo more powerful, but is going to be a bigger threat, possibly in this volume. And she eventually became that.
Not just the fact she just killed it, she took its power to the ability to kill the people in the Ever After. It's like, fuck. Yeah, so she can essentially kill off a character and they don't ascend, because it gets later revealed that if the RWBY characters also died in this universe, they would have also ascended. So it does kind of raise a lot more questions.
Well, okay, I would have to jump to the finale to talk about that.
We'll get to that soon. But, so let's quickly talk about Neo, because yes, I was a bit gutted that the Jabberwocker died, because my review, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see more of him. Dead. I was like, oh. That sucks.
So,
they redeemed it because... Sure, go ahead.
I think Neo became probably one of the best characters in this volume, honestly.
Yes, because Neo, to me, had the Boba Fett syndrome. What I mean by that? Well, Boba Fett, when he was introduced to Star Wars, he looked cool, he did some cool shit. That's it. He's not a character. He's just an obstacle course, really. And Neo was kind of the same like that. She shows up in Volume 2, does some cool shit, gets embarrassingly knocked out, and then she makes a few cameos then and there. Realistically, I never saw the hype for her. It's like, oh, but she's adorable and evil. It's like, adorable, sure, but I don't know. I just couldn't get around why people loved Neo.
I still can't.
Though, running mate told me about a novel, and usually I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, do I have to read spin-offs? But given the fact I've done that for Boba Fett, and Boba Fett's now one of my favourite Star Wars characters of all time, I'm like, be a hypocrite if I didn't do that for other characters. I read Neo, well, I didn't read it, I listened to an audiobook at one point.
Same thing I did. Although, weirdly enough, for my audiobook, the last 2 chapters were swapped.
How the fuck does that happen?
I don't know!
Audible.com, you might need to sort your shit out.
It was iTunes, actually.
What was it? Okay, fair enough. I was going to make the joke, you don't want the Snap Cubes Mr. X coming in, which Sean will probably get that reference.
iTunes, just stick to music. Let Audible handle audiobooks. Thanks.
By the way, sorry if you can hear what sounds like a... Okay, now it stops. Jesus.
I was hearing it sound like Morse code. It's like your elevator saying, beep, 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 get me, beep, 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 out of this, beep, 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 nightmare.
Oh, God.
Anyway, yeah, I forgot what I was talking about now. So I read the novel of Neo's story, and I won't lie, I end up kind of feeling for her, really. Not in the sense that, oh, she suffered so much. She's still a bad person. Like, let's get one thing. You know, I can sympathise for Thanos from the MCU.
Oh, there it goes again.
Doesn't mean I'm going to root for the crazy mad Titan. And in a similar case, this was another case. I felt for Neo. That doesn't mean I wanted to see her get her revenge. But one thing I was happy what they did with Neo, which we'll get to when we discuss the final fight, Neo became perhaps the best RWBY villain, because the general consent when it comes to RWBY villains, they suck. They really suck. I think the only one that I actually liked was Torchwick, because he was like a snarky criminal. He kind of gave me the Riddler vibes, you know?
Yeah, I can understand that. With Neo, it's just like, especially with certain moments of this volume, which we probably are going to touch on in a bit, she became a villain you wanted to hate, which is a really good thing. We haven't really had any RWBY villain kind of like that probably since Cinder, maybe?
Yeah. And not only that, though, but she was also a sympathetic villain.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a thing with me and villains, just as a whole. I just can never really feel sympathy for villains. So, like, anytime a show makes them sympathetic, it just doesn't land with me. It's a big problem I have with most My Hero villains.
It's kind of interesting, really. What, does that even mean like someone like Harley Quinn?
Pretty much.
A girl that's been abused her whole life and has been twisted into become this bad person.
I mean, that sucks, but, like... I don't know.
Like,
okay, I thought you were going to expand a bit more on it. Okay, never mind.
I think the thing, again, you know, Neo definitely became, like, one of the better villains of this because of everything that went on. But the thing I will say is that the hatred that she got was kind of a bit much, because honestly, there have been villains that have done way worse stuff than Neo has.
So people saying she was worse than Homelander. I'm like, no. Homelander is a horrible person who enjoys doing what he does. And he's word I can't say, otherwise my YouTube channel could get in trouble. He R@P-edited people. He's murdered people. Like, Homelander's irredeemable. Neo, though, she had a good redemption arc in this. You love to hate her, but they did something really good during her final confrontation with Team RWBY. Before we get to that, let's talk about the other cool characters introduced. Rusted Knight, which, big twist, it's Jean, who's aged up.
Yeah, okay, so when I first saw him in the opening, I was just like, okay, so that's Jean.
Same here. I knew that was Sean.
But the moment he took his helmet off and I saw him aged up, I was like, oh, I actually didn't see that coming.
That was me as well. I was like, okay, I know that was Jean, but I thought maybe a few days have passed. Maybe, I don't know, he got attacked by something like an acid creature that melted a little bit of his armor, it's decayed it. The moment he had the full beard, I was like, okay, now I have so many questions.
This man got the Carlos treatment.
He did.
Literally, he looks like fucking Carlos from the RE3 remake.
Oh my god, he does!
Just give Carlos blonde hair and bada bing bada boom.
Oh my god, he does! Especially if you switch to his retro look. It looks like Jean's current hair. Oh my god. Carlos versus Jean for Death Battle. Let's do it, let's go!
Oh. But no, like, that was a really nice design choice, honestly. And he was even voiced differently, which was amazing job done by Miles.
Yeah, that's something, like, you can tell, like, immediately. It's just, like, it is the same voice, but different.
Yeah. Of course, typical Alice in Wonderland / Ever After vibes. The moment you have questions, the moment it's answered, you raise more questions. Because how Jean got to this point, which I thought was going to be a whole episode dedicated to it, but it turns out, nah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would have liked the whole episode just seeing what he got up to, but honestly, what they did, yeah, it served its purpose.
Yeah, I suppose.
Plus, if they had a whole episode just devoted to what happened, it would have spoiled a few, like, reveals.
I suppose that is kind of true, really. But of course, how did this happen? He touched some time fruit.
Time, huh? Thanks for the... Actually, no, wait, I can't bring that here.
I knew. I was like, I'm gonna wait. Either Nate or Sean are gonna do it.
He picked a fruit that I've seen people dub a clocker nut.
Wait, what?
I like that.
And
Clocker nut. Like
from
a coconut, but, you know, time travel.
From a tree, which I call McClockany.
Clockany.
Jesus
Clockany.
Christ. These clock puns are getting
I'm proud of that one, okay?
absurd.
Mate, you're proud of all your puns, even at the worst.
But they're wonderful.
Oh, I got that. We walked right into that one. He's just punishing us at this point.
That
Fuck Steve O for you for your terrible puns.
Okay, so, of course, though, now this does kind of raise questions as well, because, in the last season, all these people fell down, so you're assuming they're going to be ever after, but it seems as though it's just Alex and her brother. I'm not sure if they're from a different time period in Remnant, or...
They would be.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird, because I do kind of wonder why they don't explain what happened to those people. Maybe it'll be answered in a Q&A. For a while,
it'll probably just be like they're dead.
Yeah, which, oof, that's rough.
Or if
Unless you're the main character, you're not gonna live.
Or if people have made any theories, some of them probably became the people pleasers. Who knows?
Oh,
Yeah,
that would
I
actually
remember-
be kind of a good twist.
I remember I saw this theory that, like if the Ever After was connected to the Afterlife or something, that maybe even some of the Afterans, as they're dubbed, might be in a way reincarnations of people that we've known. I think someone linked Adam to one of the mice that we saw in the first episode, like the one that had a scar over his eye,
I've completely forgot about that one.
and was all, we must liberate our kin.
Interesting. In fact, there is a twist in the ending of this season, which might even make that a bit true, but we'll get to that later. So, Jean, the Rusted Knight, he comes in with his steed, Juniper, which, I'm gonna say it, one of my theories is that's Alex.
Juniper is adorable, by the way.
I love
do
Juniper.
I want a plushie of Juniper.
I want a plushie of, like... Well, okay, maybe not for myself, but I just want to see a plush of Little be made. Like,
No, here's what they'll do.
Dead to me.
hear me out.
They'll make a plush of Juniper and a plush of Little, and someone's just gonna make it recreate the ending.
That would be
That is
great.
adorable.
There's two more that I've seen people want, and honestly, like, yeah, do it. The potential's there. But what I was thinking for like the Little plushies, well, that'd just be perfect for RWBY cosplayers, wouldn't it? Just have a tiny Little in their hood. Just be like, yeah, Volume 9 RWBY.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people bring like a stuffed Wise before, so it could work.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to do this thing one day. If they actually ever do make 2 of those plushies, Juniper and Little, I want to do this thing. Like, someone did this with, like, the Pokemon Gen 1 starters. I'm going to put them down in front of loads of babies. Well, no, like, one at a time. I'm going to see what babies like more, Little or Juniper. In fact, that will be the poll for this. Who's more adorable, Juniper or Little, people? I swear, if Little wins...
Hey, man, Steve nearly won the drip poll. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't trust my subscribers. They said Steve was nearly better than all of us. So, yeah, maybe I'm not sure I should trust my fans.
I will also say, I still stand by something I said in the for episode 2, when Little was building that house and doing that dance. Like, someone get that mouse on a t-shirt stat. Because that kind of can-do attitude is what the world needs. Just being like, alright, I don't know where I am. I guess I'm just gonna make a house and live here. Building a house, my very first house. Like,
Bro, Little was playing Minecraft that whole episode.
So I'll go into more details when we're wrapping up this discussion why I don't like Little, because I'm not an emo person, people. I do love optimistic characters. Like I said, I love RWBY. Little was just not done the way I like. But we'll get to that eventually. So now, of course, joining with Jean, so you're thinking he knows this world, he's going to be able to help them get to the tree, but then... Whew, then you meet the Patrick people. That episode's rough. Like... This was Jean's... I know this word is kind of seen negatively on YouTube comment section, he says. This town was his coping mechanism.
oh, yeah, it was.
This town, Jean was bidden for them to pass on because, just like RWBY, Jean felt like a failure. I'm just like, I just smile once. Can we just have a cute moment this season? We do eventually, thankfully, but I was just like, people were laughing at that. I saw reactions where people were just laughing when he's doing all this crazy planning discussion. I'm just like, oh, this is depressing.
I will say, like,
this funny?
I will say that list he made, pause the episode and just read it. There's some fun and admittedly depressing Easter eggs in there.
Yeah, oh god, the fact he named each one of them after RWBY characters as well, I was like, oh god, that hurts. I don't know why, that really reminded me of Castaway.
Well, yeah, it was.
Ironically, similar to Castaway though, he died, and okay, there is somewhat of a nice message regarding how the Ascension works, which is a good metaphor for real life.
Yeah. Okay, so explain what Ascension is, because we haven't really done that.
I was going to do that when we got to the bit when Dawn meets the new people. We'll get to it, mate, don't worry.
I was gonna say, Ascension is the first DLC Zombies Net released for Call of Duty Black Ops 1, set on a Soviet base unit.
Oh god, when we get in a RWBY freaking zombies style, like Left 4 Dead style, like arena battle, I would pay money for that. Get to play as all your favourite characters in an arena fighting off waves of Grim. I'll pay money for that.
Me and Max have talked about a whole bunch of RWBY games that we would like. I would like a Persona style RPG. He would like RWBY Warriors.
Fighting game.
So like, Fire Emblem Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, that sort of thing. Where you just fight waves of enemies.
Sean, you said a fighting game. What fighting style game did you imagine for RWBY? For me, it's Soul Calibur.
I could see it kind of going to Soul Calibur route too, but I would more kind of want to see it like in the tag style of sorts, because RWBY's has like teams and everything, so why not make it work kind of like Marvel vs. Capcom?
Oh, so basically like cross tag battle, but have it just be RWBY characters.
That'd be kind of cool.
I wouldn't say specifically like the mechanics of cross tag, more so the mechanics of Marvel.
But I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, like, developed by Arc System works because they still have those sprites.
I mean, I can see
Admittedly,
it,
I
yeah.
think Capcom would be a better choice because they have a unique style, especially if you've seen the gameplay for the new Street Fighter. I'm just like, that just looks amazing.
Yeah, but I'm also just going to Arc System Works immediately because they've like done deals with them a couple times, so makes sense.
Hear that. Moving on though, before we get into our RWBY game discussion, which could be a fun topic for another day. So let's talk about, of course, the moment the people are dead and Jean and RWBY. This was without out the moment I was gonna love this season, because RWBY decides to stop bottling in her emotions and just freaks the fuck out at everyone. And on one hand, this was an episode as well that I wasn't on RWBY's side really, but at the same time I could understand why she was angry. It was just so gut-wrenching to see RWBY, this optimistic symbol of like optimism and bravery and leadership, just crumble. It got much worse later on.
And this has kind of been coming for a while. Like, so many fans have just been like, RWBY break when? RWBY break when? RWBY break when?
Yeah.
And this was the season it finally happened, and ow my heart. It felt like the crew ripped out of my chest, punched it a few times, and then shoved it back in.
I mean, the way I like to interpret this is just like, everyone has that breaking point, and that scene was her breaking point. And a lot of
I've hit that a few times.
Yeah, and like, people were getting mad at that scene in particular because of what you said, but again, that's her breaking point. Sometimes you lash out in anger and just say things because you're angry. I think that's something that went over a lot of people's heads.
Not only that, if that scene made you get angry at RWBY, that was the whole point. It was meant to show that, you know what, RWBY is finally just going out and just attacking her friends and sister. It's like, at the same time, they show, similar to the Neo in the story, because I feel like these two are going to have ironically given the name of Neo Semblance, it's a good mirror on the two characters. Which I felt like, as much as we didn't see much of RWBY and Neo's rivalry this season, like, the contrast between the two of how they dealt with loss and failure, done differently, but also really well done. Of course, this leads us to the confrontation between Neo and RWBY, which was building out because Neo was attacking with the Jabberwocker on many occasions. Scene when she brings all of RWBY's friends and even mentors, well, I wouldn't say Ironwood's a mentor, but yeah.
I would have said that about Lionheart, honestly.
That's a good point. I don't know why he was there. Like, I don't think anyone even remembers him.
Dude, I don't know why, but the clapping gif of Ironwood is just the funniest thing from that.
Good point.
18 on Such made a comic about this. It's just basically like past RWBY characters auditioning for that bit. Like, first there's Forrest, like, no. Then there's Adam, and then there's just Lionheart, he'll do.
Oh yeah, I know that comic. I was thinking to myself, I don't remember this. It's like, oh wait, he mentioned the Adam thing. I know which one he's on about now. But yeah, I could go into so many details why this scene is brilliant. But of course, there's so much to already talk about this season. But to give you the rundown, this is a great addition at RWBY because we've never really had a villain that tormented the heroes this badly. Because when you think of villains, many of them are either on a destructive level or just like the sneaky sort of level. But Neo unlocked her Joker moment. This was giving me flashbacks to when the Joker was beating down Robin before he became the Red Hood. All she needed was a crowbar. But yeah, just seeing this character fully embrace this sadistic side of her. However, though, unlike the Joker, though, she did actually push RWBY to suicide. It's like,
yeah, that
as I said in my review, add that to many things I never expected to see.
Yeah, and that's kind of a sensitive thing for me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, suicide's a pretty sensitive topic, and the fact that Neo was able to do that to this most optimistic character, it's like...
Well...
Like, this was reminding me of when the Joker managed to get Injustice Superman to kill him after he murdered his wife and destroyed his city.
Well, this is where also a lot of people online were hating Neo so much because of these actions she does.
My dog seems to hate Neo at the moment.
And it's just like, the hate, I feel like, was a bit much. Because again, There have been villains in media that have done way worse than Neo.
But I meant the spy art and stuff like that was a bit messed up, especially if you know her origin story. You can understand why she's so messed up. So to have people even write fanfiction where she's boiling in acid, it's like, these people are fucked.
Like,
I mean, fandoms in a nutshell can be pretty fucked, so
like,
I don't associate myself with them.
Like, it's okay to hate a villain because of what they do. But the extent I've seen...
That's kind of the point.
Right, but
yeah, like,
this was taken a bit too far.
Here's the thing as well, though. What I loved after she did that, though, this is something Starshock even said in a comment. I can't remember if it was under Mate or Robustcast's one, but yeah, there was guilt on her face. She finally got her revenge after plotting for so long. But you can see the way she did it, especially when Ruby's sister came in. You can see the utter guilt on her face. She's like, I don't know why. I thought I got what I wanted. I was really thinking, is she going to be an irredeemable villain after this? But no, that brief moment where she's like, oh, fuck. It's like, there's two things going on. One, she's like, well, that's it. I've done my revenge. But there's also that, I just killed a little girl in front of her friends and sister.
I forget what the trope is called.
What the fuck?
But it's an instance where it's like, yes, I finally have everything, and yet, I feel empty.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, that's just revenge in a nutshell, really.
Yeah. Well, unless you're The Last of Us Part 2, and you don't know how to write a revenge story. Shots fired. It's like the golf club on Joel's head. Well, it's been 3 years. I could talk about that game and its big major spoilers, alright? I'm just looking forward to seeing that on Pedro. But, yeah, just... I don't know why. We've never really had a villain that had a somewhat of a bad moment in RWBY. Like, every villain just seems to be irredeemable, really. So it's kind of... You know, don't get me wrong, I love my villains that are just bad for the sake of bad. I mean, Jack Horner from Puss in Boots is just so entertaining. Cinder for a while was kind of entertaining, but then they like, oh, but feel sympathetic for her, she was abused. It's like, yeah, you know, you're kind of like 5 seasons too late now.
That's like impossible for me as well.
Like, one of my big issues with a lot of RWBY villains, they try and give them sympathetic stories either after they're dead or before they're at that irredeemable arc. It's like, I feel like once... at this point, you might as well just not give them these characters flashbacks.
I would just say, please don't do that with Tyrion.
Yeah, I mean, that character is just chaotic neutral. Similar to Neo, I don't understand the love for that guy. People say, he's the Joker of RWBY. It's like, no, he's fucking not. At most, he's Clayface from Batman. Yeah, Neo, though, even if you never read the book, just that face that she made just sums up her reaction perfectly. I've got my revenge, but now I feel like a monster. But then, gonna get to the part where I am gonna sound a bit negative, people. Twist villain is the Curious Cat.
Gasp!
It's not a gasp, because here's the thing, I didn't see that coming. Do you know what, though?
I did.
Here's the thing, though. It was a shit twist. The Curious Cat's a villain? It's like, what? When he was trying to take over RWBY, I was like, okay, didn't see that coming, but it's like, why is he a villain? It's like, maybe they'll explain more of it. And this, to me, the best way to sum up the Curious Cat's twist villain, he's a Disney twist villain, and if you know the reputation they have, Disney's twist villains suck. They've, you don't understand, I was using you this whole time by being your friend because, in the past this happened to me. It's like, fuck off. Like, that's not a good villain. Like, if they wanted to make him a villain, good enough. But maybe do something like what Alice in Wonderland did with the cat in that. He was tormenting them this whole time, but, you know, he was also neutral to Alice and everything else.
I will say,
He didn't care whether Alice escaped or not, but he tormented her.
I will say, this is probably the best thing the cat did as the twist villain. Just make this into a meme.
Do you know what? Yes. Memes that came out about this, especially that AG No Such Gone, which I look forward to, when Neo's holding up the sign, the cat's in her mouth, and she says, I didn't see this coming. I love that image. don't get me wrong, when they have the fight scenes with Neo possessed by the Curious Cat, entertaining, he's not interested enough to hate. I have no reason to hate him as a villain. Like, sure, I know I said in this review, oh, RWBY villains suck, but you know, I can find reasons to hate them. Cinder, oh, she caused Beacon to fall, killing Pyrrha. That's enough to hate her. Adam Taurus, he's a terrorist. Alright, I hate him. Tyrion, he's a psychopath. I don't have any reason to hate. What, he nearly possessed RWBY? Oh, he was lied to by Alex. It's like, not a good twist villain. The way to write a twist villain, you know, you also need to do some good foreshadowing for it. But then they do this whole thing, he explains in his flashbacks what really happened with Alex and yada yada. It's not good. Honestly, if they should have... This is what I'm saying, why the Prince should have been the villain. Maybe after being defeated, he was petty, so after Neo got revenge, he decides to strike. Because the Curious Cat's just not good as a villain. His backstory is quite interesting when we get to the finale. As a twist villain, he's F tier. Because he's not interesting enough for a villain.
I think that definitely it could have been better, but at the same time, you know, the idea was there.
I guess maybe it could have just been a case they thought it was a good twist, but maybe they just didn't expand it enough. Maybe they just didn't have time because, one, they were working on a movie as well and potentially writing season 10 script. I don't know. I just didn't like. I would have actually liked it maybe if Neo was the villain this whole time instead of you know, being sidelined for the twist villain. Like, I just don't understand why make him a twist villain. They try to explain more of his flashbacks. I don't think that's motivation enough to betray Team RWBY. I don't know, it just feels kind of pointless. But let's of course get to the actual bits during the finale. So, RWBY drinks the poison, or it's never actually explained whether that's poison or, you know, whatever.
No, it's tea made from the leaves of the tree.
Yeah, but I guess the trees are just poisonous, or I guess when you drink it, you accept you want to ascend.
Yeah, okay. Okay, the tree is what does it. And all the smoke from episode 4, that was made from leaves of the tree.
Yeah. But now before we get to the RWBY scene though, let's get to the bit which explains the whole ascension thing. Of course, Team RWBY are trying to rush to the tree because that's where RWBY's been sent to after she drank the tea, which, I'm going to say, that tea does look delicious. I don't care if I die from it, I'll drink that. It's like, I might die, but looks tasty. Glug, glug, glug. Who knows, maybe I can come back with wings. But, so, Jean make it back to the town, and then there's that sudden moment where he just remembered what happened to this town. Then, probably the most heartwarming moment, next to the next finale, comes. The Paper Town people come back. No longer made of paper though, they're made of crystals. Thankfully, not the one by Walter White.
Oh god.
RWBY Breaking Bad.
No, this
just Walter
no.
White with RWBY's hair.
No, this just entire... I could see people calling this entire arc Breaking RWBY at this point.
Do you want that's accurate? RWBY, death in the family, or ascension in the family. But yeah, message about this town though, because it's still the people that Jean was protecting, despite physically changing though, become better versions of themselves. And to me, I might be overthinking it, but this is what I got from watching that scene. There's going to be moments in your life where you might have completed your story. Like, for instance, let's say right now my dream is to write my first book. Let's say eventually I do post that book. Well, eventually there's got to be something else to do, and eventually I'm gonna change when I pursue that next thing. Because you gotta think, many years we've all changed. Look at our YouTube content and stuff like that. Are we the same people through the many years we're doing YouTube? Like, if I go back to 2020 Bill, I've changed so much with my content and just my person. I feel like I've changed so much. And I think the same could be said for both of you.
Yeah, I no longer record on the phone, and no longer am I very soft-spoken.
Yeah, but that's good for what I'm saying. You will always become a better version of yourself, depend on what you want to do. Sometimes you might not know what you want to become, or sometimes the world will decide what you become. However, as long as you, as the message by the creator of the show says, as long as you keep moving forward, you will always become a better version of yourself. That's why I kind of got from that scene, because they haven't changed fundamentally of personality, they're still the same. Just physically and potentially just how they do things is different. I think that's a really nice message. Again, I could be overlooking into that. Maybe that wasn't the intent at all. Maybe they were just like, nah, we just wanted to see what papers will turn into. Oh, okay, fair enough, but that's what I got from it.
And speaking of the finale, Jesus Christ, the fight in that finale scene. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
With plenty of homages to the Red trailer.
Although
yeah.
Although the dumbest moment was that random swing Sean did in like episode 9. That reminded me so much of Oblivion. And it's just like, hey, Sean played Oblivion.
I might need to go back and see that. That sounds funny. But, nice little bit they did. Everything that tied... that would have... This is what I wanted to say about how the filler doesn't really make sense. Because a lot of the pointless stuff that they did actually ties into a lot of things for the finale. The whole caterpillar trying to freaking get everyone high. That actually played a key role. Because, well, one, John cuts down all the leaves and gets Wise to ignite them on fire. And the Curious Cat says, haha, this won't work on me. It's like, no, but it'll work on Neo. And that's when he's like, oh shit. And Neo fights back. She's like, you know what, get the fuck out my body, mate. And of course, though, we also have Ruby talking to the tree, which... I know we actually completely forgot to talk about this, but
If by tree you mean that is the blacksmith, then yes!
Yeah, the blacksmith was honestly... From the get-go, I had a feeling this was the tree. But at the same time, though...
I think a lot of people had that theory.
But at the same time, though, was an interesting character. And despite having not as much screen time as other characters, though, I think when she was on screen, she made an impact on both RWBY, also the messages she was trying to give. Because she wasn't trying to be your typical, oh, this is what you should decide. She's just saying, it's your choice. I'm just here to tell you what you can be. Which I kind of like that. You usually get those mentors that say, no, you are better as you are. You can only slightly improve. Don't go down this path. This one was like, this is your choice. We're doing Yoda.
That was Yoda?
That did not sound like Yoda.
Oh dear.
Oh, I'm sorry, alright? I'm not as great with impressions.
It's like... the blacksmith was just showing, like, laying down Ruby's options at that point, and giving it a clarification on each one.
Yeah. But then came the big moment, which people were kind of split on this. Ruby decides to go for her scythe. Now, I'm going to be devil's advocate and trying to defend both sides. People are saying Ruby just sticking to being who she was kind of feels like they didn't give her development. I understand that, because physically, she is relatively the same. But this comes to the message about she decided to be who she is. She's not trying to change and be another person. She wants to become a better version of herself. This isn't her like trying to say, I'm perfect the way I am. No, it's her learning to take responsibility for her failures, but be better. So sure, physically, she doesn't change. Mentally, she's a fundamentally different person, still carry on the optimism side that she had before this whole story arc.
Yeah, I think it's more so how
both sides.
It's more so how she's going to be on the inside that should matter with this whole arc at the end of the day.
That sounded so cheesy, Sean.
Welcome to anime!
Yeah, I mean, it is an anime trope, I suppose, but I really did like the message. Of course, though, in her fight against the Curious Cat, though, she was using her old fighting style while also mixing in a bit of different variations of fighting style she's learned.
Also, first time we actually see her fight this volume, and well, that moment, that was so hype.
And I think that's kind of good, because most of the action sequences have been kind of mixed, but the majority of it, RWBY wasn't fighting. That just made this fight that more impactful, because it's like, yes, our girl is back! And me and mate were kind of talking about this behind the scenes. So when the Curious Cat got defeated, Neo was the one that does the kill and blow. I won't lie, I was actually surprised I called that. And of course, this also brings an end to Neo's story, because one of the things I was thinking they were going to do was that she's going to choose to stay in the Ever After, because, let's be real here, the Ever After is so much nicer than Remnant at the moment.
To be honest, my thought process was like, especially after episodes, it was either 3 or or maybe 5. I was just thinking, with stuff they've done, Neo just should not go back to Remnant. And a big part of that is just the buff that they gave her for her semblance. It just makes her too powerful to the point where if she became good and worked for the good guys, she would just kind of make things too easy.
I could definitely see that they bring back Neo, though, if they want to do something with her and Cinder because of what happened in Volume 8, though.
And I don't know, I don't
Honestly,
agree with that whole sentiment that they get so overpowered they can't be in it. The boys, Hugo's gotten a power buff, but it doesn't mean he... I don't really get that, mate. That's kind of weird to me. Like, characters get buffs all the time in stories.
Yeah, but honestly, in terms of how they ended Neo's story, I think that was probably the best thing they could have done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's how they
and maybe don't have her return.
No, they could totally have a return. It really depends, but obviously, if I was in her shoes, it's like, do I return to the war-ridden world where the world is practically ending? Or do I stay in this very nice place with all these nice people? No, fuck you guys, I'm staying here.
I think it'll depend.
I think it was brought up that she can't, anyway.
I think it'll depend if they would want her to have another mini revenge story against Cinder. But if this is the end of Neo, then I think it was a good way. I think the only thing I would have changed is just have one voice line finally come from Neo would have been nice.
No, I think no. Because the whole point... Because a part of Neo's character is that she can't talk, so to suddenly just have her speak and then that be the end is just like...
And the novel does reveal that it's not that she chooses not to talk, she can't. She physically can't. Now, obviously, you wouldn't know that if you just watched the show.
Yeah, I know read book. Reading is stupid.
You're not wrong.
Also, going back to the book, I wanted to bring this up, and it's when we see all that stuff referencing Roman Holiday, it rewards you for reading or going through the book, but it doesn't really punish you for not doing that.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. I think I kind of said that as well, because, yeah, if you knew the story about Neo, then, you would know she's sympathetic, but they still done well by showing her reaction when she killed RWBY, showing that she's not entirely a monster.
Also, did anyone get Mary Poppins vibes when she just opened the umbrella and descended down? Because I sure did.
Oh, people have been making that comparison for ages.
I'm glad people... yeah... I'm just like, that is definitely a Mary Poppins scene recreated.
I'm just picturing there's going to be a clip online where she's descending and it's just Yondu's, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! Yeah, I think May pretty much nailed on the head. Her story did end well.
Plus, it's left open-ended, so you can kind of draw your own conclusion to what ultimately becomes of her.
But she's a fan favourite character. She'll probably be back in some way. If they choose to continue RWBY after the Sailor Mark, she'll probably be back. It always happens with popular characters. I mean, look at Boba Fett, man. He was meant to have canonically died, yet look at him now. Vegeta as well from Dragon Ball was popular characters, they'll always come back.
We shall see.
Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's.
We shall see what they choose to do with Neo if they ever want to bring her back or just choose to touch her story ever again. But if this is
I
the
did
end,
also like how RWBY.
but if this is the end of RWBY,
Sorry, you go.
if this is the end of RWBY, Neo finally can have her happily ever after. I did that just for the pun, okay? Don't judge me.
I'm not judging you. Listen, we've been torturing you with puns, so you need one as well, I suppose. Tip my hat to you.
Yeah.
But I also liked how they did Neo and RWBY's rivalry. They showed that, you know what? RWBY's not holding grudges against Neo. She understands, you know what? After everything that happened with Torchwick, she understands why Neo was like this. And I even like the little bit where Neo accepts that Torchwick is gone. That little moment where he properly said goodbye. Sure, it wasn't real, but you can really feel the moment there. Like, it is heartbreaking, especially when you read the books. You just know how much these two meant to each other. And honestly, Neo's little goodbye, I think, was subtle, but you know what, very sweet. I feel like Neo was a really good character. She was a really well-written, redeemable villain, and obviously her killing the Curious Cat, that was phenomenal. And so brutal. You don't see it, but you hear the crunch, and it's like, Jesus. Neo might have held a grudge.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but on Twitter, one of the animators posted that scene tagging, "It was an honor to kill you, Robbie Damon." and he replied to that with, "It was an honor to be killed."
You need to send me that tweet. I need to put that on screen.
God damn.
They both added the salute emoji.
that is brilliant. I love little jokes like that. Of course, this now brings us to what many people were wondering: what was the whole point of RWBY being set in the Ever After? Well, this was the origin of the gods, which I did not see that coming. I didn't even.
Nor did I.
Didn't even realize that. Like the moment shown all.
I mean, we got like a little hint at it when the cat was saying, like, "I need to know why my makers left to make you," and then get cut off.
Okay, so maybe there was a bit of foreshadowing. But when it was like showing all of the Afterians, that's such a stupid name, or whatever it's called.
Afterans.
That's so stupid. Yeah, when it was showing all of them in the car and you saw the dragons, I was like, hold the fuck on. That was a generally good twist, so it further explained that the Ever After was here before Remnant. The only reason Remnant is because the gods couldn't work out their differences and decided we want to make our own world.
I mean, people theorized that was the case. Like, the brothers made the Ever After, then left to make Remnant. But as it turns out, no, the Ever After made them.
Yeah, that was a generally good twist, and the story behind it showed, you know what, this would explain the whole ego-ness of the gods, because in the flashback, when it reveals the same story, you could tell the gods have such an ego, but you never really understood why. Like, why were they obsessed with one side being like, you know, why does one side need to be light? Why does one need to be destruction? Then it reveals, because in the Ever After, they were meant to bring the balance. The difference is both of them were just up their own asses. They wanted one side to be perfect, while the other one just wanted to destroy everything.
Also, like, I made this joke with Proboscis and Aiden. The way they argue, like, in the flashback, it's like, your toy broke mine, now I'm gonna break yours.
It really... Okay, yeah, that's...
It's literally just two brothers bashing action figures together.
I mean, that's a good way to sum up gods in a nutshell, really.
I mean, kind of.
It was... But not only that, now raises more questions. Is this going to tie into some confrontation between Team RWBY and the gods when they get all the relics? Are they just going to mouth them off and just be like, you know what, you're both are just man-children, alright?
It's going to be the ending of Persona 4. It's going to be, screw you, God, friendship. Dang, that's a lot of friendship. I am the dead. That.
Hopefully not, because that sounds bad. I'm thinking...
That's a piss-take way of summoning it up, okay?
That's just Sailor Moon.
Oh my god, it is! I didn't think about that until you mentioned it. Oh, Jesus Christ. But no, I'm thinking this is going to tie into It's either going to be Team RWBY or maybe even Ozpin just saying like, you know what, you're both just man children. All you do is create and destroy. It's an endless cycle. I think that's what's going to tie into. Who knows? Maybe the gods will go back to the ever after and just be like, you know what, you fuckers do what you want. Fuck it. They actually did. I hope that's not that they'll be more expanded upon that, but I do think this is going to tie into the final confrontation between either Salem or the gods.
Or both.
Or both. And that was basically the story of Volume 9. They were honestly not my number one favourite, that's still Volume 3. You know what? It's second place. This was a really good season. Yes, I will say, before the finale, it is a bit of a mixed bag. But trust me, once you get to the finale, those mixed bags will change into positivity. I still have some negatives when we get to our highlights, which I guess is going to be now. I'll bring in more info on that.